Okay, so we're going to go over homework 1.1 to 1.4, last night's work. Let's look at number 1. Draw and label each of the following. So draw a segment with endpoints x and y. So we would draw a segment with an endpoint x and an endpoint y. Draw 3 coplanar lines intersecting at a point. So we could draw a plane. We'll draw number 3 over here. A plane with 3 intersecting lines that all intersect at the same point in the middle there. Remember, lines have to have arrows on them. Number 5. Use the figure to name each of the following. So 3 coplanar points. We can look at plane S, the blue plane, and pick 3 points on the plane. So we have point T, point W, and point V that are all on plane S. What is a plane containing T, V, and X? So we have T, V, and X. These 3 points are all on the blue plane, which is plane S. So we would write plane S. Now let's look at number 9. Find the length of each segment. Segment SV. So it starts at S, which is negative 1.5, and ends at V, which is 5. So we would take the absolute value of negative 1.5, the value that corresponds to S, minus the value that corresponds to V, which would be 5. And we would get the absolute value of negative 6.5, which would be equal to 6.5. Now let's look at number 11, ST. So we're finding the length of ST. S starts at negative 1.5 and T starts at 2. T ends at 2. So we would take the absolute value of the value of S, which is negative 1.5, minus the value of T, which is 2. We would end up with the absolute value of negative 3.5, which would be 3.5. Number 13, sketch, draw, and construct a segment congruent to CD. So we would just draw a line that is the same length as CD. We would draw a segment that's the same length. So we would have to have 2 endpoints on this green line. Name all the angles in the diagram. So we have angle 1, which is this angle, angle 2, and the whole angle, which is angle LMP. Remember, when naming an angle, you can either name it by the number on the interior or by the 3 parts, so 3 capital letters. Classify each angle by its measure. So the measure of angle RVT is 96 degrees. 96 is greater than 90, so this angle would be an obtuse angle. Ray RS bisects angle QRT. The measure of QRS is equal to 3x plus 8 degrees, and the measure of SRT is equal to 9x minus 4 degrees. Find the measure of SRT. So the first thing we do is draw it out. So we have angle QRT and RS bisects it. So right off the bat, we can put arc marks because the 2 resulting angles are congruent, And we know QRS, so the angle that's on top is 3x plus 8. And SRT, which is the angle on bottom, is equal to 9x minus 4. And we have these arc marks here, so we know that these two angles are equal to each other. So we would set up this equation by saying 3x plus 8 is equal to 9x minus 4. And now we would solve for x. Subtract 3 from both sides, add 4 to both sides. So we would get 12 is equal to 6x. Divide both sides by 6, and x is equal to 2. So now we would take this 2 and plug it back into, it's asking us for SRT, so we would plug it into this equation, the equation for SRT. So we would take 9 times 2 minus 4, so 18 minus 4 would be 14. So the measure of angle SRT is equal to 14 degrees. So now let's look at 21. Tell whether the angles are only adjacent, and form a linear pair, or not adjacent. So if we have angle 1 and angle 2, these two angles form a straight line and share a side. So these would be adjacent and form a linear pair. So now 23 is talking about angle 3 and angle 4. These angles do share a vertex in the center, but they don't share any sides, so these would be not adjacent. If the measure of t is equal to 5x minus 10 degrees, find the measure of each of the following. So when finding the complement of t, we would do 90 minus t, which we said here t is 5x minus 10. And we would have to put this in parentheses. And then when we would have to distribute the negative to the 5x and to the negative 10. So we would have 90 minus 5x, and this would become plus 10. So the complement of t would be 100 minus 5x. So that would be our answer for 25. And that's the 1.1 through 1.4 review. Good luck on your tests tomorrow.